Hello, 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 and welcome back. Today is the day. It's the day that we read more Still Into You. Heavily requested, asked on every single one of my social media platforms when the hell I was gonna read the next part of this. And you know that Sundays are our days. We're reading chapter 7, and it is called Tell Me How. This is on Archive of Our Own by Stable Biscuit 20. I know a lot of people ask me where I'm reading this at, and that's where if you just type in Stable Biscuit 20 AO3 Still Into You, it will show up. Let's just jump right on into it, shall we? Ever since the fight, Katsuki and Izuku had been avoiding each other more than ever, both of them staying in their apartments rather than attempting to talk it out. Midori wished for nothing more than his best friend to rant to, but he hadn't spoken to Todoroki for at least a month. He missed the other hero's calm demeanor and quick wit. The way Shoto was able to make him nearly piss his pants from laughing without even cracking a smile himself. One evening, after a particularly bad day at work, Izuku plopped down on his couch and typed out a message to Todoroki. He sat there, staring at his phone for a long time, his thumb hovering the send button. Izuku closed his eyes and gritted his teeth, willing himself to press down. With a quiet whoosh, the text was delivered. Todoroki, it's Midoriya, can we talk? Almost instantaneously, it's as if Shoto had been waiting for his phone to vibrate with response. Sure, meet you at the coffee shop in 10 minutes. Midoriya steeled himself as he pulled on his jacket and boots and prepared to walk to the cafe down the street. He had been angry for weeks, a seething building rage. And now that he'd actually had the opportunity to let Todoroki had it, it felt like his mind went blank. This was his best friend, and regardless of how badly the guy f***ed him over, Izuku would probably still take a bullet for him. But then again, Izuku would take a bullet for anyone. It's just how he was. After walking into the shop, Izuku took his place in the queue. As he stood in line, waiting to order his Americano, he rehearsed in his head what he was going to say to Todoroki. It was late for coffee, but lately he hadn't been doing much sleeping anyways. When Midori was handed his drink, he thanked the barista and turned around. His gaze immediately landed on the fire and ice hero, who was sitting at the table in the corner, stirring his coffee nonchalantly. When they made eye contact, Todoroki waved 2 fingers. Izuku approached the table, feeling his anger simmering deep beneath his belly. Hello, Izuku, Todoroki said hesitantly, as if he wasn't sure if he could use the green-haired man's first name anymore. How are you? Midoriya resisted the urge to snort as he sat down across from him. How am I? Oh, I've never been better. My best friend slept with a guy that I've been in love with my whole life. I almost watched as said guy died in front of me. And then after he healed, we beat the shit out of each other at a friend's birthday party. And I haven't heard from him since. So really, everything is fantastic. Shoto winced at Izuku's uncharacteristically harsh words. He nodded. No mincing the truth, I see. A long silence stretched out between them before Todoroki opened his mouth to speak. I'm sorry. I made a mistake. I was a bad friend to you and you deserved better than that. Tears filled Izuku's eyes. Midoriya wished more than anything that he could be angry and spiteful and mean, but truthfully he was devastated. Why, Shoto? Izuku heard his voice tremble pathetically. If I'm being truthful with you, it's because I wanted to. Midoriya's head snapped upwards at Todoroki's honest words, his mouth agape. We had worked together a few times on different assignments, and he'd gotten far softer, I guess. He was kind to me. He never gave me any indication that he was interested in you. Ouch, that one stings. Todoroki continued. I knew you had feelings for him, but you hadn't spoken to the guy in 5 years. Was I just supposed to ignore him because you didn't have the guts to make a move? This is actually brutally honest.
Yes. That's exactly what you're supposed to do.
That's like rule number 1 of being like even acquaintances. That's like rule number 1 of being a decent person.
Don't talk to people that your friends are in love with.
Exactly. Don't f the person they love and don't f their brother. That's it. Or their sister, or their mama, or their family.
Unless they give you full permission to do.
Unless they're like, oh really? Okay. And then you go. Yes. Midoriya's voice was matter of fact. You were supposed to reject him and tell me about it because that's what best friends do. The half-and-half hero flinched at the accusing tone in Izuku's voice. Point taken, but anyways, I think I did it because I hoped that maybe if we slept together, he'd get feelings for me. But I was wrong. Sleeping
also f***ed up. You know your best friend's in love with him.
Yeah.
And you're trying to win his heart, so why? Your best friend can watch you be with the man that he's in love with.
In this fanfiction, Shoto's a big ol'. I was wrong. Sleeping with him was... Don't get me wrong, it was good. But it was like he was a million miles away. I really don't want to hear what it was like. No, Izuku, you're missing the point. It was like he wasn't there at all. He didn't even look me in the eyes once. Todoroki fumbled over his words, attempting to reason with Izuku, who was starting to get seriously pissed off. I meant like, he definitely wasn't into me. It wasn't that great. It wasn't that great, and he's totally not into me. Oh, thank you, Todoroki. Thank you for your brave sacrifice of having not that great a with the most attractive man alive. This is me. This is Izuku is me. When you knew I was in love with him, really. Thanks for that. Midoriya sneered, sarcasm dripping off of every word. Todoroki rolled his eyes. You're totally missing what I'm trying to say here. Here's the honest to God truth. Besides you just saying that you were in love with him, here and there, how was anyone supposed to believe you? You didn't speak to him for 5 goddamn years, Izuku. He was single and openly gay. You had every chance to text him or call him. He was literally your neighbor, and you had no idea because you wasted 5 years telling yourself that you were straight. Bingo. Todoroki thought as Izuku recoiled at his words. If you want him, then go get him. Todoroki was right. Izuku had spent the last 5 years going on many dates with women. After kissing Bakugo at the UA ceremony, Midoriya had a serious sexuality crisis. It happens to the best of us. He had always known he loved Kacchan ever since they were little, but it wasn't until he felt Bakugo's lips against his and saw the beauty that resided within the blonde's crimson eyes that Izuku had realized that he was in love with him. For months after graduation, he got texts from Katsuki, all kinds of them, and affectionate, and so very confusing. Deku, I miss you. Did I do something wrong? Why aren't you talking to me? Was it the kiss? Happy birthday, Izuku. I wish you were here right now. The texts continued for a couple of years, but Izuku always ignored them. He couldn't handle the feelings they brought up deep inside of him. Feelings of shame, secrecy, and guilt. He knew he had fucked up, and he'd fucked up big. Todoroki's voice pulled Midoriya out of his daydream. I'm so sorry, Izuku, I really am. But I hope you take my words to heart. If you love him so much, you have to tell him. Eventually, he'll have to move on. He can't wait for you forever. He's been biding his time for 2 decades. The green-haired man stood from his chair abruptly and looked down into Todoroki's red and blue eyes.
He's got blue and gray eyes.
I was about to say. People make mistakes. It's not a big deal. Like always, his best friend was always able to clear his muddled thoughts, even in the midst of an argument. Honestly, Todoroki, I don't forgive you. I can't. Not yet. But we can start trying to fix this. Before that, though, I have something even more important to try to fix. Oh, I'm so angry. Hold on. Shoto nodded solemnly and then quirked his lips upward into a smile. You can do it, Izuku. Like I said, you waited 20 years already. Oh, so much rage has filled me. I would just like to say that if you are so okay with fixing this relationship with your best friend after he slept with the man you were in love with, but you can't forgive Katsuki for sleeping with your best friend when he had no clue you were in love with him. Oh, the anger. Oh. Huh?
You had no clue you were in love with him.
You didn't.
Ran away when he kissed you. You should have ignored all his text messages. And you're gonna go fix that relationship that Katsuki's the one who f***ed up. But you're gonna forgive Todoroki when he straight up said that he slept with your best friend because he wanted to and because he wanted him to fall in love with him instead of you. He wanted to steal your man from you, so he slept with him. And since it didn't work, he wants you to forgive him.
What kind of backwards bullshit is this? Izuku Midoriya, square the f up, bro. I'm so over it. Like, literally, it's on like Donkey Kong if I see you in the streets, my guy. Like, I can't do it. I'm so mad. Izuku, specifically from this AU, specifically from Still Into You. If I see you in the red light district, let's go. That's dry coochie energy. Dry coochie energy. Anyway, let's just hop right into it. It's chapter 8 of Still Into You by Stable Biscuit 20. It's called Misery Business. Oh, this one makes me cry and I have nice makeup on today. Legs aching from running back to his apartment, Midoriya stood at Katsuki's door for a very long time, fists balled at his side. For being the #1 hero, he sure felt like a wimp. Every time he lifted his hand, Izuku felt a sudden wave of nausea and had to stop. The coffee he drank wasn't helping with his shakes either. As he swallowed his nerves, Midoriya closed his eyes, rapped gently on the door with his knuckles. No answer. Okay, Izuku, get your shit together, knock a little harder. He has to be able to hear the door in order to answer it. This time he did, thumping his fists below the peephole. After sitting there awkwardly for a moment, Izuku cleared his throat and called out to the blonde. Kacchan, are you there? Still silence. Midoriya felt his heart begin to race. Maybe it was anxiety, the Americano, or a hero's sixth sense, but something felt wrong. Can you open the door, Kacchan? Izuku heard his voice wavering, panic washing over him. He reached his arm and pounded against the door. If you're okay, let me know. You don't even have to open up your door. Just say you're fine and I'll go away, please. Again, no response, save for the sound of Izuku's pulse bounding in his ears. He couldn't help himself as he reached for the doorknob. Izuku's mind was running miles a minute. This is a total invasion of privacy, and if Kacchan is actually in his apartment, he'll be so pissed at me, and I know he's probably asleep, but I can't help it. Something feels wrong and the door is probably locked anyways. This stupid... With a click, The doorknob turned. It was unlocked. That was all it took for Izuku to slam the door open and sprint into the apartment. "Kachan, are you here?" He stopped in his tracks, his voice faltering. The apartment was barren. There was not a single piece of furniture or moving boxes or even dust. It looked as if no human had ever stepped foot in the place for days. Izuku felt like he was being suffocated. When his eyes finally locked out of something in the corner of the living room, his breath hitched in his throat. Still in the frame and leaned against the wall, it was a giant poster of Deku himself. Izuku's heart ached as he remembered a couple of weeks ago, the night when he saw the poster for the first time. He remembered kissing Bakugo's knuckles as he slept in the clinic bed, the peaceful way the blonde looked as he rested, how Katsuki's skin felt beneath his own as he helped him to limp around the apartment. He remembered the way he smelled, the burnt sugar scent of nitroglycerin that mingled with the remnants of soap. Izuku reached out to pick up the frame, and from behind it a small tone faltered. Oh, nope, not tone, note. Izuku reached out to pick up the frame. A small note fluttered to the ground. Midoriya's scarred, crooked fingers shook as he reached for the folded piece of paper and opened it. It was addressed to his apartment, and his handwriting was clearly Katsuki's messy scrawl. "Izuku, it's been a few weeks, huh? I'm so bad with words and feelings, especially when I'm looking at your dumb face, so I decided to write you this instead. You better not show this shit to anyone. I'm sorry for everything I did and I've ever done to you. I'm sorry for pushing you around when we were kids. I'm sorry for all over you in high school. I'm sorry for asking not to work with you at the Heroes Association. I'm sorry for yelling at you on your way to work that day. I'm sorry for sleeping with Todoroki, like really fucking sorry for that. I'm sorry I punched you in the face, even though you were making an ass of yourself. I'm sorry that I bit you and punched you and pulled your hair. Shout out to Lilo and Stitch. I'm sorry I punched you in the face, even though you were drunk and making an ass of yourself. You were drunk and I should have just let the shit you were saying roll off my back. You saved my life, Deku. And I'm not talking about with Phantasm. Thanks for that though. I'm talking about in general. You make me want to be nicer to people. I know I'm mean and competitive and aggressive and harsh, but ever since you got your quirk, I've wanted to be a better hero than you. But honestly, as I've watched you grow, I realized that you've always been better than me. You're smarter, funnier, nicer. Somewhere around our senior year, you got stronger than me too. At first, that made me really angry. So angry. But eventually I realized I was maybe a little bit proud of you too, even if you were the same loser I grew up with. I feel like I'm not making any sense, so here was what I'm really trying to say. I'm sorry we beat the shit out of each other. I'm sorry I f***ed your best friend. I'm sorry I hurt you on purpose. And I'm sorry that we never got the chance to love each other. And I'm sorry that doing this might hurt you more, but I really can't live here anymore. I can't sleep knowing you're next door. I can't even breathe around you, Deku. I can't forget what it felt like when you ran your stupid f***ed up hands through my hair. I can't forget what my fist felt like colliding with your face. And I can't forget your lips on mine. But I have to try, for both of our sakes. Kachan. I can't cry on camera, but internally, screaming. Izuku felt a searing pain in his chest. Todoroki had been right. His words echoed in Midoriya's ears. He can't wait for you forever. Izuku had waited too long. He'd been too scared. He ignored his feelings and stuffed them down deep inside. Honestly, love terrified him. Midoriya didn't know much about love. He'd been sleeping with people, sure. He'd go on dates with pretty girls, get set up by his friends, attempting to be straight, or something like that. But it always ended the same. Izuku would get frustrated with the facade and would seek out some cute, low-tier male hero who he would hook up with, maybe even go on a couple of dates. Their relationships would never work out. Midoriya was always too busy or too emotionally unavailable. They would end it, and there was certainly never any genuine affection involved. Love was a foreign object to Midoriya, always just out of his grasp until the day he saw Bakugo bleeding out in front of him. He was suddenly faced with the prospect of never seeing those ruby eyes again. He knew he loved Katsuki, and now standing in the blonde's empty apartment, Midoriya knew he needed to find him. He knew that he had never needed to do something more. Tears clouded his vision as he pulled his phone out of his pocket. Midoriya immediately dialed Kirishima, who picked up on the third ring, his voice cheery as ever. Deku, what's up, man? I haven't heard from you in a while. Kirishima, have you heard from Kachan lately? Midoriya's voice was ice, and Ichiro immediately sat up straighter, feeling his heart crawling up his throat. No, not in a day or two, he paused, worry infiltrating his voice. Is everything okay? His apartment is empty, Kirishima. He left. He didn't even tell you where he was going? Midoriya didn't bother mentioning the note. Oh god. Ichiro sounded like he'd gotten pinched in the stomach. No, he didn't tell me anything. Do you think he's okay? Does it look like the League had anything to do with it? It wouldn't be the first time they abducted him. Kirishima, you don't understand. He left, like, on purpose. The fact that not even the redhead knew Katsuki's whereabouts made Izuku feel like curling up on the floor and dying. The blonde didn't want to be found. Oh, Ichiro breathed into his phone. I'm sorry, Midoriya. I can ask around for you, but if he didn't tell you, he didn't tell anyone, right? I'm not gonna find him because he doesn't want to be found, right? That's what you're going to say. Midoriya heard a sad sigh on the other end of the line and a long pause. Yeah, Deku, that's what I was gonna say. I'm sorry. Choking back tears, Izuku thanked Kirishima and hung up, clenching the note to his chest like a lifeline he laid back onto the hardwood. Midoriya imagined all kinds of things as he spiraled out on Bakugo's empty floor. He imagined a universe where he wasn't a scared loser, and he had answered Katsuki's texts in the summer after they graduated. In that universe, they stayed together, and he closed his eyes, picturing himself lying on the floor of their apartment, the one they shared. He pretended to be in a universe where he and Katsuki were still kids, running around the forest, playing in a local creek, tickling each other until they couldn't breathe. Izuku created another world, one where their love was easy and simple, a world where they had only ever had with each other, and there was nothing complicating their relationship. It was just love. After a long time lying like that, Midoriya finally stood. He knew what he needed to do. There was always one person who could pick up the pieces when he felt this crumbled. He needed to go home. I mean, well deserved. Sorry. So that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, remember to give it a big ol' thumbs up. If you're new, subscribe if you want to be here more often than not. We will be back next week with chapter 9. I'm super excited for it. Yes. We are coming to the end of it. This is on only a 10 chapter fan fiction. Let me know what you guys want me to read next. I don't know what I'm gonna read next. Very nervous, but I'm glad that you guys are enjoying it. And Sundays will be our fan fiction reading days, so whichever fan fiction you guys want me to read next, I shall read. I love you so much. Remember to stay safe, do your homework, and drink water, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.